There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes something painful but liberating. Words rarely change anything. No matter how much you explain, no matter how much you justify yourself, no matter how loudly you fight, those who disrespect you will not suddenly respect you. And here lies the brutal truth. The more you try to convince someone of your worth, the more you devalue yourself. The modern philosopher Byung-Chul Han speaks of this phenomenon in his analysis of today's hyper-connected society. He explains that we live in an era of overexposure, where everyone is constantly shouting for attention, endlessly proving, endlessly explaining. But power does not belong to the loud. It belongs to the ones who withdraw, the ones who choose silence over chaos. The Stoic masters understood this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, lived in a world of betrayal, manipulation, and constant disrespect. Yet he wrote in his private journals, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." True strength isn't found in confrontation. It's found in self-mastery, in refusing to be pulled into emotional games, in learning when to walk away without a word. This video is not about revenge. This is not about manipulation. This is about becoming untouchable. Today, we uncover 5 silent moves, grounded in Stoicism and sharpened by Byung-Chul Han's modern philosophy, that will make women who disrespected you question everything they thought they knew about you, and regret underestimating your value. These are psychological weapons, invisible, quiet, unstoppable. Let's begin. Part 1. The power of complete withdrawal. The first silent move is disappearing from the battlefield, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Byung-Chul Han says something profound in the burnout society. In a world addicted to visibility, disappearing is the highest form of power. Think about that for a second. In today's world, everyone is competing to be seen. Social media is filled with endless selfies, updates, stories, and notifications. Everyone wants to be noticed, to be validated, to be chased. So what happens when you refuse to participate? What happens when you remove your energy from someone who disrespected you? You become rare. You become valuable. You create a void, and that void becomes unbearable for the one who once underestimated you. Most men do the opposite. They react. They argue. They demand explanations. They send long messages trying to prove their worth. But the Stoics taught us never fight for a place where your value isn't recognized. By walking away without noise, you're saying, "I know my worth. I don't need your validation." And here's what happens psychologically when you execute this move correctly. Power reversal. She expected drama. She expected anger. She expected begging. Instead, she gets silence. And silence is louder than shouting, triggering regret. Humans value what they lose access to. When you remove your presence, your absence starts screaming, reframing the dynamic. By stepping back, you force her to reflect. She begins to question her choices, her words, her actions. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." You don't retaliate. You don't explain. You simply leave the stage. This isn't weakness. This isn't running away. This is choosing your energy wisely. When you vanish without bitterness, you do something far more powerful than any argument ever could. You force her to sit with the weight of her actions. That's when the regret begins. Not when you fight, not when you plead, but when you quietly disappear. This is your first silent weapon. Part 2. The unshakable frame. The second silent move is becoming unshakable. This is where Stoicism and Byung-Chul Han's philosophy intersect perfectly. Han warns us about the dangers of overexposure, giving away too much of our thoughts, emotions, and availability. When someone disrespects you, their goal is often emotional control. They want to provoke you. They want to see you react. Because the moment you react, you've given them power. But a man with an unshakable frame, he doesn't flinch. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't try to prove his worth. Imagine this. She mocks you. She tests your patience. She dismisses your value. Most men would explode, raising their voice, defending their pride, throwing back insults. But you breathe. You pause, and you remain calm. This silence unnerves her, because when disrespect meets composure, the entire power dynamic shifts. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you stop giving predictable emotional responses, you break the control loop. You become unreadable. You become untouchable. Here's why this works. Mystery amplifies power. When you reveal less, people project more. Calmness disarms chaos. When you don't match her energy, she's forced to question her behavior. Self-sufficiency attracts respect. The less you depend on external validation, the more your value rises. Byung-Chul Han says we live in a society addicted to self-disclosure, oversharing every detail of our lives. But when you resist this, when you control what you reveal, you become magnetic. Your inner citadel, your emotional fortress, becomes your greatest weapon. Because a man who cannot be shaken, cannot be controlled. This is your second silent weapon. Not revenge, not resistance. Stillness. Part 3. The art of strategic indifference. Your third silent move is strategic indifference, the ability to not react in situations designed to provoke you. Byung-Chul Han explains in his book, Psychopolitics, that modern society thrives on emotional capture, keeping you addicted to reactions, notifications, validation, and conflict. When you constantly react, you give away control. When you remain indifferent, you break the system. Imagine this scenario. She tries to test you. Maybe she ignores your messages, flirts with someone else, or mocks something you believe in. The instinct of the untrained mind is to respond immediately, to confront, explain, defend. But here's the secret. The person who cares less always holds the power. This isn't about not caring at all. It's about projecting self-contained energy, showing that your emotional stability doesn't depend on anyone else's actions. Strategic indifference has 3 powerful effects. 1, it creates unpredictability. When you refuse to dance to the rhythm of her provocations, she loses control of the narrative. 2, it triggers introspection. Your silence forces her to reflect on her own behavior. Why didn't he react? Did I go too far? Did I lose him? 3, it builds attraction through scarcity. Humans crave what's not easily available. When your attention becomes rare, its value multiplies. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Your silence here is not weakness, and it's precision. You don't waste energy on defending yourself. You don't explain where no explanation is needed. You don't try to prove your worth to someone blind to it. Byung-Chul Han calls this the escape from visibility. In a culture where everyone screams to be noticed, the man who stays silent, unbothered, and unreactive becomes mysterious, and mystery is power. This is your third silent weapon, strategic indifference, the art of knowing when to act and when to vanish into stillness. Part 4. The power of self-transformation. Your fourth silent move is the one most men overlook, transforming yourself quietly. When a woman disrespects you, the natural impulse is to confront her or seek closure. But closure doesn't come from words. It comes from evolution. Byung-Chul Han speaks about the psychology of self-reinvention.
He says the modern world traps us in cycles of seeking approval,
validation, and constant comparison. But the Stoics taught something radically different. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. After disrespect, instead of obsessing over what she said, instead of replaying every moment in your head, you take that emotional energy and you invest it in yourself, silently, relentlessly, patiently. This transformation can take many forms. Level up physically, build strength, discipline, and presence. Level up mentally, read, study, sharpen your mind, expand your worldview. Level up emotionally, detach from the need for external validation. And you do this without announcing it, without broadcasting it on social media, without telling her, without telling anyone. This creates one of the most powerful psychological triggers known in human relationships, the silent glow-up. One day, without warning, she notices the shift. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak less but command more, the quiet confidence in your eyes. You didn't chase. You didn't explain. You evolved. Byung-Chul Han believes that in today's performance society, most people are trapped in endless cycles of proving themselves to others. But when you invest in self-transformation without seeking validation, you escape that trap completely. And when she sees that, it hits her harder than any argument ever could. This is your fourth silent weapon. Evolution without announcement. You don't tell her who you're becoming. You show her by becoming someone she can't ignore. Part 5. The absence that echoes. The fifth and final silent move is the most powerful of them all. Your absence must echo louder than your presence ever did. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about revenge. This is about understanding psychological gravity. Byung-Chul Han explains that humans are addicted to constant presence, likes, text notifications, instant replies. We live in a world where everyone is always available. So when you break that pattern, when you make yourself unreachable, you create a rare and painful vacuum. At first, she might feel powerful for disrespecting you. She thinks she's in control. But as days pass, your silence begins to grow heavier. She wonders why you haven't reached out. She replays the moments in her mind. Doubt starts creeping in. And here's the paradox. The less you try to prove your value, the more she becomes aware of it. This silent move has 3 layers. 1. Detachment creates curiosity. When you step away, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is magnetic. 2. Mystery forces reflection. Without your energy feeding her ego, she starts questioning her choices. 3. Regret becomes inevitable. She realizes too late that the respect she withheld has now cost her your presence. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly. The best way to avenge yourself is to not be like the one who wronged you. Your silence here isn't revenge. It's a statement. I am complete without you. And this is where Byung-Chul Han's philosophy cuts deepest. He argues that true power in the age of noise comes from self-contained energy. You're not seeking recognition. You're not chasing validation. You're not competing for attention. You've become the man who is seen without trying to be seen. And that, Shahid, is when the regret burns the most. This is your 5th silent weapon. The absence that echoes. When you vanish with dignity, your silence becomes unforgettable. Part 6. The discipline of delayed response. Your 6th silent move is the discipline of delayed response, the art of not reacting instantly when someone tries to provoke you. Byung-Chul Han argues that modern relationships are trapped in a cycle of hyperspeed reactions, instant replies, impulsive responses, and emotional outbursts. But here's the truth. Speed is weakness. Stillness is power. When someone disrespects you, mocks you, challenges you, dismisses you, the natural reaction is to fire back immediately. You want to defend your pride. You want to prove them wrong. But in doing so, you hand them exactly what they wanted: your emotional control. Instead, you pause, you breathe, you wait. By choosing not to respond instantly, you send a louder message than words ever could. I control my energy. I decide when and how I respond. This delayed response has 3 psychological effects. 1, it disarms manipulation. People who provoke you expect a quick reaction. When you refuse, their strategy collapses. 2, it demonstrates emotional mastery. A man who can pause before speaking shows mental strength far greater than one who reacts instantly. 3, it creates mystery and uncertainty. Your silence makes her wonder what you're thinking. And uncertainty is a powerful psychological trigger. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said it perfectly. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. When you delay your response, you amplify imagination. She begins to wonder, why hasn't he replied? Is he upset, or does he just not care? Byung-Chul Han calls this asymmetrical communication, controlling the pace of interaction so that you set the tempo. This is how you quietly regain dominance without a single confrontation. This is your 6th silent weapon, the power of waiting. Because silence combined with timing is devastatingly effective. Part 7. The aura of emotional detachment. The 7th silent move is cultivating an aura of emotional detachment, becoming the man who cannot be controlled by anyone's approval, validation, or rejection. Byung-Chul Han warns us that modern society runs on emotional dependency. People are constantly seeking reactions, likes, replies, validation, reassurance. But the man who breaks free from this trap becomes untouchable. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means your self-worth doesn't rise or fall based on how someone treats you. Here's the psychology. When someone senses that their approval has no power over you, their respect for you grows instantly. When a woman realizes that her attention doesn't control you, she feels an uncomfortable shift. The more indifferent you are to her approval, the more she seeks it from you. Marcus Aurelius embodied this perfectly when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Your emotions are your kingdom. No one enters unless you allow it." This silent move turns you into a man of unpredictable depth. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking reassurance. You stop chasing validation. And suddenly, you become a mystery. And mystery breeds obsession. Byung-Chul Han believes that in the society of transparency, everyone is overexposed. Everyone shares everything, their struggles, their fears, their desires. But when you withhold your inner world, when you reveal less, say less, and need less, you become magnetic. Your calmness becomes intimidating. Your silence becomes irresistible. Your energy becomes unforgettable. This is your 7th silent weapon. Detachment. Not from life, not from purpose, but from the need to be understood, approved, or validated by anyone. Ending. Become untouchable. So let's bring it all together. In a noisy world where everyone fights to be seen and heard, where people chase validation and constantly explain themselves, your greatest power lies in silence. When you withdraw instead of begging, you gain leverage. When you hold your frame instead of reacting, you earn respect. When you evolve silently instead of announcing, you inspire awe. When your absence echoes louder than your presence, you become unforgettable. Byung-Chul Han teaches us that true strength lies in becoming untouchable in a world addicted to attention. And the Stoics remind us that the greatest victory is not defeating others, but mastering yourself. Understand this. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to embody it. The men who grasp this truth move differently. They don't chase. They don't beg. They don't argue. They become a force so steady, so composed, so rare, that regret becomes inevitable for those who failed to value them. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember this. Do not raise your voice. Do not explain yourself. Do not fight for what doesn't value you. Stand still, move in silence, master yourself, and let your silence become the loudest thing they'll ever hear.